Okay, thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Marcio Lotierzo, Director of Supply Chain Operations at Delta Controls. I'm also going to present together with my Supply Chain Manager and Procurement, Carlos De Leon, and Cory Warner, our Senior Production and Materials Planner. I'm really excited to present our case because, as Deborah mentioned, we started our discussions pre-COVID, as I will show a little bit our journey. But also during COVID, we decided to implement the Intuiflow, and everything was conducted online, virtually, and it presented a kind of a additional challenge for us, but pretty sure that we consider ourselves very successful in the implementation together with the CMG and DDM and DD Tech. In this case study, we will explore how our customers they also we improved a lot our inventory, but we were not expecting since the beginning all the classic benefits of implementation of a new system or a new process, like the reduction of inventory, increasing order to delivery. In fact, we started our journey just thinking about how to replace our systems. But there were very interesting benefits that were not foreseen since the beginning that I will show it to you. So in this case, we are going to present our demand-driven objectives, results, achievements, and also in the end of presentation, you'll have a better understanding of our results and how Intuiflow will help us to support our operations. So I will present a little bit about our background. So we are part of Delta Electronics. Delta Electronics is established in 1971, headquartered in Taipei, is the world's largest provider of switching powers and supplies and brushless fans. Delta operates in the following 7 product areas: power management, renewable energy, components, network, industrial automation, and have more than 10,000 patents. With the last revenue, 2022 was above $12 billion. Over 8% of revenue devoted to R&D. Also, in the Delta is a major supplier for power components to Apple and Tesla. So just to give an overview about how Delta Electronics is in the market. So Delta Controls, here we are located in our site in Vancouver, Canada, since 1986, but we were acquired by Delta Electronics in 2016. We are we act in a business automation industry, focuses innovation and sustainable ability to make our industry commercial buildings mainly. We do not operate in the residential market, and we produce 100% of our products here in BC, Canada. As you can see, we are our manpower is distributed in 8 countries, mainly in Canada, US, and Europe. And we operate, our business model is our partners act our sales force. We do not sell directly to customers. If a building has a project to automate their building in terms of, I will explain a little bit more about the solutions that we offer. So they go through a partner, and our partners, they are independent companies. They participate in those biddings, and then they buy directly from us. So we are present in schools, hospitals, from schools, hospitals to military facilities. We sell solutions in the build automation, as I mentioned, partnering with the other DE group companies. So that's the strength of our organization. We have solutions not only related to sensors, applications, or enterprise solutions to control the whole building, but also partnering with other DE group of companies. We have fire and security, lighting, and access. This is a classic view of solutions that we can provide, but this is our flagship, the Sensor Hub 2, where you can see we can monitor the number of people in the room, the temperature, adjust through artificial intelligence and machine learning, the temperature of the room, control also the number of people in the room, and many other functionalities. Give you a little bit of project background. We started our journey with a demand-driven operating model in 1986. Just to give you an idea, we started a company with $50,000 of revenue in 1986, with about 10 SKUs, and we currently have operate with 2,100 SKUs with approximately $80 million revenue per year. We started with our journey with the Excel files, seasonality tools for raw materials. Our lead time was to be, for this type of industry, really not acceptable, from 6 to 8 weeks. So imagine a small company delivering products in 2 months, more or less, and all make to order. We move it to more complex operation. As soon as the operation started to be more complex, we need a system to support our supply chain. And then internally, we build up through internal programmer our own product that we call Lifesaver. So our planners at the time had the contact with the DDMRP or the demand-driven solution and the concept, and learn from this, and decided, instead of create a traditional MRP, going directly to create something closer to what, for example, Intuiflow is now. Of course, very far away from the product, but with the same concept, with same mentality, best as we can, and then only implemented I think the concept. It could support the operations and help our team to better. I think that better manage this complexity in our world that we have. We are a low volume, high value environment. So we operate with selling from 1 unit to thousands of units. And I think that the model also helped us to manage this complexity at the time. It was very simple system, but well developed. And then after, in fact, in 2019, there was a first discussions with Roberta about the Lifesaver assessment and opportunities if we move to Intuiflow. At the time was R+, DBR+. The reason for that is that we lost our planner and our programmer. So IT and IS, they were not able to support us anymore because nobody knew about what was happening inside the system. It was a kind of a black box. And it creates a lot of problems for us because we were not able to improve, we were not able to evolve with this system. Then we it was not approved at the time, the necessary investment to do that. When in 2021, we have we connect with the CMG again, and have in fact, we conducted a bidding process in order to select the right partners, and we end up with the CMG and Intuiflow. So in 2021, in the middle of COVID, we moved forward with the initiative. We signed the contract on March 31st, 21, and we started implementation. And our implementation ended in of R Plus. Go live was November 21st. Then we moved also forward with the DBR Plus implementation, and go live on during March 22nd, more or less. Then recently we had an audit about CMG, also of course the go live of Intuiflow version, and that's some few information that I also will share with you about how was the first outcome of those audits. In our near future, just to give a little bit of more complexity, our DE organization decided to implement SAP. So we went through a process to discuss with the SAP team the benefits of continue to have in our planning system demand-driven solution and concepts, instead of moving back to the traditional SAP, because in their heads they were just rolling out systems. We were pretty successful with that. In fact, they enjoyed and appreciate and saw a lot of potential in the shop floor control. They are having a lot of issues with the MES system, the current MES system that they implement globally. And this is one of discussions that we had with CMG, opportunities for the future too. In terms of system integration, as I mentioned, in Intuiflow, we connect with Microsoft Great Plains at the moment, our ERP solution for the transactions. This Microsoft Great Plains connect with the component manager. That is also a system, in-house system that is a kind of a product lifecycle management for electronic components that defines what components are approved or not by engineering team, the alternatives, manufacturers, and compatibility of the in our products. So this is an overview of how we operate, right? It's very similar to other electronic companies, but I would like to highlight that is during the project, it was the first time that the company had the opportunity to review and able to map our operations and review our dependencies, as Deborah mentioned in her presentation, before the system design. So I think that it gave us also a lot of understanding how the concept works, the methodology would work as well, and where to position our dependency, our buffers, etc. So what were the objectives of the project? As you see, as I mentioned, you not see the classic objectives in the beginning, because the first objective was to get rid of our legacy system, upgrade the DDMRP capabilities, and also get rid of our legacy system. That was a lifesaver. But also, DE also imposed a lot of restrictions in terms of security and compatibility with our systems. So there was a second motivator. And the third one, we were not able to maintain our systems, as I mentioned before, or even if we have a great idea or requirement, we were not able to do any change in the legacy systems. And review our flow, as I mentioned. So all of the objectives were achieved so far. The level of customization gave us a really good feeling of support that would support our business and not one size fits all. And of course, as expected, upgraded functionalities are subject to schedules, schedule release and prioritization according to the demand of the overall customer base. We understand that, and we have the mechanisms to propose improvements to the system, to the DTEC. But I'm pretty sure a lot of with our experience, we have a lot of really good connection with the team. So one of the first achievements of our project was that to prioritization of our operations, so our daily activities. I also think that Deborah mentioned about the cockpit or the dashboard for executives. That this is Carlos as a supreme buff commander. He can look through the dashboard to understand where he needs to act fast, where he needs to prioritize, and work with the team in order to react, to have a good responsiveness on that.
Yeah, thank you, Marcio. So yeah, I joined Delta precisely the moment when the project was just starting, and it was the precise moment when I began engaging with the system and the concept of DDMRP. As Marcio mentioned, the visibility is crucial. We didn't have that, and now we have it in a single dashboard with Intuiflow. So with our team, the procurement, planning, and production teams, every single morning we have a stand-up of 15 minutes that we call the buffer meetings, and we review the essence of the planning priorities. You can see the critical number of parts, the high which have buffer profiles, and 21 parts which have non-buffer profiles. We will focus on that the very first morning to identify what are the issues, do we have a plan to resolve them, and when and how fast. Because this is, you need to trust the system. The system is telling us that this needs to be resolved prior to other, and that's the advantages of the priorities. You can see the mediums. We focus on the mediums when we see 50% or less in the buffer zones. The team proactively acts on that to avoid that those mediums become a critical or a high priority later. And then we go on over the top of green, which is basically the parts that have an net flow there that we need also to consult. Execution letters are important because besides priority, it provides us information on when materials are not arriving on time and when we have a demand that is not covered by the current inventory. So we need to look at those also, and we need to look at the notes that the team has put in, so justify what is the situation of the problem, so we can move ahead and resolve them and have those crucial conversations either internally or externally with our suppliers in order to resolve them right away.
Speaking just an additional comment on that is that before Intuiflow or R plus DBR plus, we imagined that every single day the planners had to go through all the items, all the SKUs in order to identify issues in their operation. And now we have a cockpit for prioritization.
Exactly. So then you can see on the upper left side, that was our old legacy system, which we only were able to see the situation of the part individually. Now with a workbench, and we create different workbench. In this case, we're displaying an example of workbench with procurement. We can see with priorities, exactly the details of which parts are we talking about, the SKUs that we're talking about, the critical, what type of alert severity it has, the status, and also the notes. The notes are very important because each planner is able to know their parts who are managing, and prior to the meeting, they have already been aware of what's the situation. It can even probably be the lead time change from the supplier, or the shipping notification has not been sent. Different situations, but at least we have a note that explains, and the date that explains what is the situation of the part, so we'll be able to complete. The planners and the schedulers and the production manager are a part of these meetings, and they understand what the situation and what are the next steps in order to resolve them and what's the expectations. So critical to highs and to medium, we have a clear visibility of where to focus our efforts every single day, and really have that attention on the critical parts first, and avoid wasting time on other activities that do not produce value. So daily work based on priority system let the planners to optimize their work and focus on more value-added activities, as I say. Then also the schedule, the visibility of the scheduler per resource, the left side was handled by us by Excel. So we plan capacity, rough cut capacity, and resources based on information, and just input that in Excel spreadsheets and try to monitor, which was very inefficient. Now with Intuiflow on our buffer meetings, we review with the production manager and the planners each resource and what is the condition of each one. The red bar that you see there is basically backlog that is preventing us to move forward, and we discuss what is the situation, and as a team, what are the different solutions that we can offer in order to help. It can be like a part that is shown on hand, wasn't found on the floor, manpower, or technical issues at a particular station. There's different motives around that. The bluish line is basically released work orders that are already there on the floor, and the gray lines are basically on planned but on release orders that are on that side. So with a system log graph, we have that visibility completely, and with the resource log graph, we can see per resource what is the available time that we have, the planning horizon, and the number of resources or manpower that we have in order to attend those different work orders that we are aligning. That information is crucial also to sales, because they will know a particular work order where is at what point of a particular station, and we can provide information accurately to see what is the expectation promise date to complete for them to inform to the customers. And from here, I will let our senior and planner Cory to take the voice from here.
Yeah. So let me just make sure that I'm not muted. The same thing that Carlos had said in the previous slide. This is just an example of showing how the old Lifesaver compared to the new one. So it was for the DBR aspect, it had shown only the department breakout of products, not necessarily the constraints of each department. So it only worked if everybody knew how to do every single product. So they would end up going from the top of the list down, but by not knowing all the products, you would have to jump around a lot, and it was very messy and very hard to follow on what was in progress and what wasn't. We're in the DBR aspect of Intuiflow now. It is clearly labeled. Your resources are split by constraints. So essentially all the people that know what they're doing in certain products stay in that group. So you never have to worry about people not knowing how to do stuff in there. It's sorted by priority and then start date. So they always just start from the top of the list. As they're starting it, it goes green. So anyone else checking in knows exactly what's being worked on. The history table in the back shows when they started, and it'll show the in progress, the completion. So it's just a much better layout to update information on the floor to avoid the confusion that we had previously from that. Carlos, if you want to go to the next slide. So then I wanted to quickly talk about one of the other things that I've done inside Intuiflow. So there is a functionality of importing a forecast list. There is extra logic on there that for my instance, it didn't work. So if you look at the top left slide, I essentially had, for new product introduction, I had a list, in this example, it's 350907. I essentially exploded out the BOM, top level, bottom level, third level, depending how many levels there were. I broke it down to a monthly guess on what the product managers had said the product was going to sell. And then I divvied it down to an average daily usage for each raw material. I did this for however many new products we were doing. I think the list was like 800 lines long of raw materials. Then the bottom picture kind of shows I consolidated all the same items for different products. Carlos, did you delete my slide?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah,
it
the
looks
slide
like
disappeared.
Carlos fell off. Oh, he's back now.
Sorry about that. We had a connection lost here. We are going to show the presentation again. Share, yeah. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yep, there we go.
Thank you.
So as I was saying, the bottom picture just shows the consolidation of all the raw materials, the very bottom level. I then added all the ADUs for each individual part together. And then I imported that value into Intuiflow. So in the top right, you can see that the ADU was 2.15. The new product introduction that was going to come in is going to be 39.98. So I compared the ADU to FDU within a certain threshold. I changed the demand to be forecasted daily usage so that the system would then start telling procurement and everyone to order all the raw materials in preparation for the new product introduction. As time progresses, I would check this monthly. As we start doing the new product introduction, the ADU is going to grow. When it reaches a certain point that it's close enough to the FDU, I will toggle the item back to ADU, and then it will just continue on like normal. So I use this specifically just for pre-planning of new product introductions, more so to account for the raw materials that have long lead times. We kind of preemptively get going on it before the system actually knows that we're going to build the product. So far, it's worked pretty well.
Okay, thank you, Cory. So as I previously mentioned, the original objectives were not really return on investment. The belief was that we already had harvested the DD model benefits, reducing inventory or increasing order to delivery. Especially those results during COVID would be tainted by the severe supply chain shortages in the electronic industry. Just give you an idea how we had to react during this particular time. Some lead times from parts move it from 12 weeks to 52 weeks, or sometimes in some situations 2 years. And then our focus was redesigning products based on availability of material. On the other hand, we achieved some results that were unexpected, to be honest, not by the CMG team, but by us at Delta. Can I? It's not moving. Can you hear us yet?
Yeah, we can hear you, but the slide is not advanced.
Yeah, the slide's not moving. The presentation froze.
Let me refresh. I'm gonna hold on. Sorry about that.
So one of the results were we had a significant reduction in our overtime during the if as you can see here, expressive reduction in terms of managing manpower, managing the resources, as Deborah mentioned in her presentation, also knowing the priorities, what's early stage, what is late, and acting proactively acting on those things. And also we used to have a backlog of $6.8 million in a certain point in time last year, and we were able to reduce in a normal level of $1.31 million for this year. So I think that this speaks by itself. That was inventory reduction at the moment for us is very particular to electronic industry. We are building up inventory. We keep inventory in our on hold once our goal is to not have any day without shipping products due to shortage. So we increase our inventory in the middle of the COVID when we had the reduction to $6 million. We increase our inventory from 6 to $12 million, and we kept $12 million for that. So it would not be fair to say that the DDMRP didn't deliver the results due to a strategic decision of the company to hold more inventory than necessary. But this is one outcomes of also the audit, where we are monitoring in a daily basis what can we now back into normal, where there is a stability of the lead times to plan the way that should be planned. So I think that maybe we should skip the post-go live because there's a lot of details on that. But I think that as you see in the graphics, we have even though with all this the situation of the global supply chain shortage, and we strategic decision to keep inventory in-house, especially raw materials. We have that reduction in stockouts with demand. We also had in the procurement of raw material a significant reduction on top of green. We could be able to go, but not beyond what we should go, even in the shortest time. And also there is a lot of opportunities to reduce inventory, and when the supply chain come down. And going to the next steps in our journey. So as was mentioned in the past, it's a journey. It's not something that you start, you implement, and you have a model that will not evolve. That's why it's important also to establish good partnerships that we can also not only bring solutions, but also we can address our needs, especially in an industry like in the electronic industry. So we provide more information about our operation to customer service. It's expected when we integrated SAP. Also, the available to promise will be, in fact, coming from the Intuiflow back to SAP, and the customer service will be able to provide better information to the customers. Field device equipments are products that we resell. They are not in Intuiflow at the moment. We are kind of agents of those sellings, but there are some needs to also we identified some needs to hold inventory in our facility. So the idea is also to include them in Intuiflow. New product introduction, we still are reviewing the process, and some reporting and analysis, especially to use the shop floor control. In the concept is per order, but we would like to use also some reportings to check our actuals against planned time to adjust our operations accordingly. And of course, we discussed about sales operation planning, and you showed the new module of the Intuiflow. Some lessons learned. We had so many changes, and we operate a very virtual during COVID, during implementation. It's very important to document every single decision you make, because we had two planners also changing throughout the time. Our senior planner before Cory left the company during the implementation, and there was some discussions or some definitions that we had, especially during in the interface side. They were not documented from our side. And after that, when you would like to review the concept used, we were not able to do that. So it's very important, even minor things that we think that would not be important, please document. Engage support teams early in the game. The shop floor, we let them, because we thought that it would be easier for them to just follow the priority list in each work center. And in fact, they were lacking understanding of how, or basic understanding of how demand-driven works and what would be the whole concept of the system the system itself. We involved them just in the end, and it creates a lot of training and retraining from our side. Define and review all processes, not only main process, the rework process. Rework process was always controlled out of the system, and then we identify opportunities to include the reworking process in our design. So we kind of let it. We make the decision to let it out of the system, but now we are regretting that we did that. So we are discussing how to move inside Intuiflow. Deactivate legacy systems after go live. That's interesting. We said that okay, let's keep the in parallel, because I believe that people naturally would adopt the new tool. After many years of using a new tool, that was a very, I think that something that if we would do it again, we would do differently, deactivating the systems in the go live day. And the speed of the learning curve of the team was much faster after they do not have the parallel help of the legacy system. And support go live, really, we had an excellent work together with the CMG team, Deborah and her team with us, even beyond the timeline of our project, beyond contract. The commitment was really to deliver a solution that was supporting Delta operation. And I'm really thankful for that.